know I can never get back, so I'm always on low.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amomi, aka Petite Diva, and in this video we are discussing an unpopular opinion. And this unpopular opinion is the fact that some people think that marriages benefit men more than women. Let's check out what people have to say about this opinion, and then I'll come back to share my thoughts.
Marriage won't benefit women unless you marry the right men. As for men, they can marry any women and still get benefit from the marriage. T. Such a great comment and something that I overlooked in my original video, so thank you. Of course, there are men that are not in advantageous relationships, okay? They exist. But overwhelmingly, I'm seeing women who have actually been in relationships and been materially worse off during and after talking about their experience. And I see a lot of men just talking about hypothetical scenarios where women are out gold digging their non-existent gold. So it doesn't seem to make sense when you think about how women want to marry the right guy. Men don't have as many requirements for women. As partners, it's just more about timing. But they don't have as many requirements because there's also so much less consequence for them if they mistreat women. I mean, even if you just look at the Hailey and Selena Justin saga, everyone is talking about the women. No one is talking about the man that has mistreated and disrespected not just those two women, but multiple women in his past. Those women, I don't know much about them personally. I'm sure they have their own personality flaws. Both of them were just unfortunate enough to have their heart broken by the same guy, and it's inconsequential to him, you know. Yes, there are situations where men have to pay child support if they get divorced, whatever, but most of the time women initiate divorces. Single, unmarried women are happier than married women, and it's usually women that are at a greater risk of poverty after a divorce. So I think for most women, better to have no husband than have a bad one.
I want to know from women over 35 if cohabitating with men is really worth it.
It's been said before, but I'll say it again. Marriage isn't really good for women. Women don't benefit from being married to men. The comment section on this video is full of women who say this, happily married here. And I say this without weirdness, but if he dies first, and he knows this, LOL, I will not do it again. So many of the comments came from married women who claim to be happily married, who say they would never choose to live with a man again. And I think this speaks volumes about the dynamics that exist in our culture overall, right? When men get married, they expect their wife to take care of them, to cook for them, to clean for them, to take care of their children, to have children for them, and they go off and work. But in today's world, these women are also working. And so not only are they working full-time, but they are also expected to care for the home and the children and do exponentially more work in the home than their partner. And oftentimes these men have been raised without the information or expectation that they'll take care of the home themselves or take care of the kids. And so even when they try to help, they need a list. They need her to tell him what to do. And it's exhausting for women. It's been shown that marriage isn't actually good for women. Women who are single do better than men. Also, having children isn't really good for women, right? We have the wage gap, the motherhood penalty, and the fact that having children can put women at a higher risk of financial troubles in the future, right? Marrying men, living with men, and having children doesn't quote unquote benefit women in the same way it does men, which is why so many women say they would never do it again. And that's also why so many men remarry so fast.
I made a post about how women don't benefit from marriage and the incels went crazy. In this video, we're going to go through all the reasons. But let's start here. The consensus from most men in the comments were that women do benefit from marriage through divorce. So they seem to be in agreement that the best part of marriage for women is leaving. If that were true, which it's not, I think that would make my point. Let's go through finances, child custody, and health. Is marriage worth it for women? The benefits mostly go to men. Currently, over 50% of households have a dual income. I read this as women are taking half of their own stuff. In those households, despite a dual income, women are still doing the lion's share of domestic labor and emotional labor. In a divorce, women's income drops on average by 20%. Divorced men see an average of 30% increase in their income. Post-divorce, 20% of women find themselves in poverty compared to 11% of men. Let's talk alimony. Alimony has been gender neutral since 1979. It's the breadwinner who pays. In the 1960s, 25% of men were paying alimony post-divorce. Today, that number is 10%. And I know the math is right here, but I'm going to say it anyway. 90% of marriages end with no alimony whatsoever. 90 to 95% of the time that alimony is paid, it was settled out of court, meaning a judge didn't weigh in and didn't order it. In the cases where a judge orders it, there's a large discrepancy between the spouse's income and assets. Short marriages are less likely to get any alimony. Judges are looking at if one spouse sacrificed their career or potential earnings. And so if they didn't, alimony wouldn't be awarded. Now let's talk child custody. Studies show that when fathers ask for custody, they get it. Conversely, as fathers tend not to ask for custody, they don't get it. Most custody cases are settled out of court. For absolute clarity, most fathers are giving custody to the mothers, not losing custody. Do you see the difference? Now we're going to talk about health, and that will lead me into my last point. Why do women even want to get married if it doesn't benefit them? You know when married women nag their partners? You really going to have that third beer? Babe, I think you need to go get that mole looked at with the doctor. Men seem to hate that, and yet it is the direct reason why married men live longer lives and healthier lives than unmarried men. I've read that men resist marriage because they know that it requires a substantial behavior change on their part. They associate marriage with increased responsibilities and potential financial loss. And yet, those things aren't true. Our culture sets expectations high for women and low for men. Getting married has historically brought a large change in how men see themselves and how they behave. If marriage has been a particularly strong signal of change in men's committed behavior, it would explain the stereotype of women pushing for marriage and men resisting.
So my 8-year-old daughter just approached me to educate me on something she had just learned. She was watching a show about cats and had learned the story about the Black Plague, which was caused by fleas that were on black rats at the time. However, the Catholic Church misinformed everyone because they believed that black cats were evil. After the Catholic Church misinformed everyone, they started getting rid of black cats. Because of that, the rat population grew and the Black Plague ran rampant. So this got me thinking about misinformation in general. And somehow in my ADHD brain, I skipped right over to the topic of marriage. I just started thinking to myself how interesting that men were able to package marriage as something women want, and that men don't. Looking back through history, of course a woman was excited whenever a man wanted to marry her, since she was bound financially to whatever a man was able to bring in. Women didn't typically work, they were not encouraged to go to college, they couldn't own property or have their own credit cards or bank accounts, and so of course finding the right suitor would be something that you would celebrate, I suppose. I personally would have chosen to be a spinster, but that's neither here nor there. So fast forward to today. And I see one article after another about how disappointing the dating scene is for cis-het men. Basically, at this point, I just imagine Tinder has a shit ton of men on there just waiting for women to pop up, and they never show. Because to be real honest with you, men benefit greater from marriage than women. You heard that right. Women are seeking men for a partnership, whereas traditionally men were seeking out women as caretakers, not necessarily for partnership. And now all I see are cis-het men crying about why aren't there more women that make us lunches and rub our backs? Because men nowadays don't know how to be partners. Spare me with the not all men, we understand that, as long as you do too. I just find it so funny that now everyone is so surprised that not all women want to get married. Why would they? Women have been undervalued and underappreciated for fucking centuries. And then you've got the men over here saying, if things were just back to how they used to be. You know, the good old days. And usually they're referring to the 1950s housewife. They'll even try to tell you that women were happy and fulfilled then. In 1952, they had seen 50,000 patients, the majority female, and they had been lobotomized. And millions of women were prescribed barbiturates for anxiety and depression. So the fact that so many men want to spread misinformation regarding marriage, how there are just no more good women out there, yada yada, and their inability to self-reflect, and how easily other men that are disappointed about the dating scene soak in this information from these Tates of the world. You know, these tiny balding men with a complex. It's honestly fucking sad. We live in a patriarchal society. Y'all are literally doing this to yourselves. I mean, this is something that's easily fixable, right? With minimal effort. Guys, make some fucking effort instead of wasting time making videos whining about how you're not getting what you want. To be real honest with you, men benefit greater from marriage than women.
I love this human and the original video, go watch it. They're talking about a concept that I discuss a lot on here. The fact that research shows marriage benefits men much more than women, and the happiest demographic is single, unmarried women. That's because when men get married, they take on less labor, and when women get married, they take on more. And they say something in their video that just perfectly illustrates this. In general, when we're talking about cis-het relationships, women are looking for a partnership. Men are looking for a caretaker. Before 1970-ish, women had to get married because they couldn't have a bank account, credit cards, buy a house. But now we can do everything by ourselves. But men's responses remain something along the lines of, we provide, or women want our money. Which leads me to something I've discussed here before. A lot of today's men have male gender role strain because they ignore both the data and the voices of women who they don't believe are actual experts on women and live in this delusional 1950s world where they believe that's what today's women still want. And that's all they have to bring to the table is a job, which you'd have to have anyway, and I have too. Which is why women take on more labor when they marry cishet men. Because they still expect you to live in that 1950s world with them, where all they do is provide and you do everything else. And as the original creator says, that's why you see so many men on this app saying things like, why don't women want to cook and clean for us anymore? Why don't women want to rub our back?
And this is the reason why a lot of men end up marrying somebody who's a maid but not a friend.
Bro, I'm gonna throw some your way, and I want you to answer that.
This is the reason why she's washing your clothes. She's doing everything that you want her to do, but you don't want to talk to her. She easily irritates you because you don't even like her.
That's what I want to get to. Thank you for going there.
You don't even like her.
Bro, I've talked to several married men who told me that they don't like their wives. I asked them, well, are you at least friends with your wife? They're like, friends?
I bet they do. I bet they do everything for them, though. They do everything for them, though.
Can I say something?
You make enough money to marry a maid. I mean, to hire a maid. I mean, and then marry a friend, right?
Wow.
If you want, if that's what you want, and so what you really want is somebody to cater to your egos
and your brokenness.
Your brokenness.
Yeah.
Because you didn't get that to Jesus.
Woo. Go ahead. Go, sis.
Can I say something? I have thought it a bit interesting that it does seem like some men enjoy men more than they enjoy women, but they marry women because they're supposed to, but their affections, their time, their energy, their vulnerability is giving space for men more than so.
If I can't open my mouth to talk, they'll call me a feminist. Before you come and attack me, because I know you will come, some of you will be in the comment section. You different. I'm seeing you. I want you to read. It says most. Because some people, they're part of the problem. The moment you say most, some, they know they see most, some, all they see is all. We're not talking about also. If you're coming here with, oh, it's not everybody, please scroll past this video. Make you know, stop us. I'm going to try and not make this a funny video because it's not. A lot of issues we have in the society, we cannot talk about it because every time we talk about it, we focus on, but not everybody. That's not the point. The point is we have these issues and we need to talk about it. Before we start, I just want to add, not all successful men are providers. Day you day, make a day my day. Okay? You know, I grew up hearing other women tell women that are about to get married, prepping them for their marital home. And all you hear is just the focus on the husband, focus on the husband, focus on the husband. You do this for the husband, you do that for the husband. Even when it comes to the bedroom, you, the woman, have to step your game. You, the woman, have to make sure anything that goes right is because of you. Anything that goes wrong is also your fault. It gets to a point where some women don't even think about themselves. All they think about is the man and his family. And I've seen far too many women get married and they've completely lost themselves because as they enter this marriage, All they are doing, all their only role in that marriage is to take care of the man's family. I've seen women wake up early in the morning, working in the house, taking care of the husband's mother, the husband's father, the husband's siblings. If that wife did not cook, the husband's family will not eat. And some women, this is their reality. Wake up in the morning, take care of the husband and the husband's family. You have a child. You have to raise that child. Sacrifice your body, your mental health. From morning to night, you are working. Husband will come home. Now he will want his share. But you dare not say no. Because he goes out to work and bring money. How dare you say no? How dare you are tired? The way society has made marriage look. God forbid you are happy in your marriage, or that will not be marriage. You cannot be happy. You have to be miserable. If you are not miserable, that's not marriage. Some aunties think this. Like you are going through something. This is marriage. Or some of them think that even abuse is part of marriage. You have to suck it up. Everything I want to say no go fit in this 3 minutes video. I just like to remind everyone that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put mercy between two people that are married. You go and marry someone's daughter. You treat them right. And let me tell you something. Women are so kind. Women are so lenient. No woman wants to come and marry a man who is arguing with the mother, who does not respect the mother or the sister. No. In fact, we are not even going to marry you in the first place. Every woman wants the husband to have a good relationship with their family. But there has to be a line. There has to be boundaries. Some of these men, they will marry women for the sole purpose of the woman serving the family. Oh, I'm marrying you so that my mom will retire. Oh, I'm marrying you so that you basically take over the house.
Marriage is an institution made by men for men. It works for men, so they get more than their single counterparts. They live longer. They report a higher quality of life, and they report even making more money. Davey's got a family to feed. He's got a baby on the way. Gotta promote him. Conversely, since the 1970s all the way up to 2022, with the same quality of life measures, women come out on the opposite end of the spectrum. Women die sooner from marriage. Women report less quality of life. They report less quality than their single counterparts, and they make less money. Susie's pregnant. Yep, she's not going to be with the firm much longer. Can't promote her. So you can really see how systemically that marriage is an institution made by men for men.
I don't know why most of you men keep asking how marriage favors men or benefits men and does not benefit women. As a man, I want you to list the benefits of marriage for women. Even though I have shared this multiple times, here we go. Marriage benefits men more than it benefits women. Married men live longer and are more healthier than unmarried men. If you are a married man, your wife will schedule your annual medical appointment and make sure you attend. Even if you're sick and you don't want to go to the hospital like most men, your wife will push you to go seek medical help. And oftentimes that will save your life and extend your life. And so married men are healthier and live longer compared to unmarried men. Also, married men enjoy career stability and increased income over time. As a man, when you get your wife pregnant, it doesn't stop your life. You are able to perform at work, and the things that indicate promotion and higher income at work is what productivity. And so married men are still able to have a family. It doesn't affect their lives, and they are able to go to work, perform, and therefore they enjoy career stability and increased income over time. Married women, on the other hand, are more stressed. They sleep less, they have a reduced income, and they have a lower life expectancy compared to single women. Like we all know, women are the primary caregivers. As a woman, if you get pregnant, you will take time off the job. And when women take time off the job for maternity leave, it affects their productivity and therefore their career stagnates and their income reduces over time. As a result, very few married women or mothers have solid careers. Most married women or mothers tend to have what we call seasonal work or part-time work. Women dominate what we call precarious employment. That is employment that does not pay any form of benefits and insurance because women are the primary caregivers. They take care of their children and to a large extent end up taking care of their elderly parents and family members. Also, married women take care of the domestic work and therefore they are more stressed. They also handle the emotional labor in the relationship. These are the reasons why we say that marriage benefits men more than it benefits women. I have several videos on my page sharing this, but you consistently ask. So this is for all the men. Please outline the benefits that women get in marriage.
You said that married men live typically longer than single men. Married women don't typically live longer than single women. And in fact, we probably die earlier.
Men live longer because she makes them go to the doctor. She yells at him when he's texting while he's driving. I mean, it's like she's the supervisor. She's the super ego, if you will. And they're taking care of their brood. Mm-hmm. Women live less long because of the chronic stress from the men.
So can I talk about how marriage benefits women? I will try. Now, this is a tricky question because understand that the Institute of Marriage was never actually created for the benefit of women. It was created for the benefit of men and society in general and as a tool to sort of raise children. And the idea behind monogamous relationships in particular, like the one man, one woman marriage, were to ensure paternity and also to ensure that more men could procreate. Because if you have a polygamous sort of situation, then the men at the top are basically hoarding all the wives, and the men at the bottom are really not getting any wives or not procreating at all. And this creates all kinds of problems. So the whole one man, one woman marriage was kind of the solution to that. In truth, from a social perspective, they probably did create a lot more stability, but understand that that was very much done on the backs of women. The other thing to understand about marriage is that they were always a pseudo business arrangement. Almost all of history, love, romance, feelings, these were not important factors when you're talking about marriage. It was rare for women to really be able to choose who they would marry. At best, they could choose between a few pre-vetted suitors. So often they didn't really have much choice, and they really didn't have a choice not to marry. And their father would simply find them a husband. But essentially, the deals would always be brokered by men, whether it was the bride's father with the groom directly or with the groom's father. And why I say this is because when you understand that that is the concept of marriage, it is a pseudo-business arrangement and one that was fundamentally designed to raise a family, you then start to understand whether or not marriage would actually be a good idea for you. But either way, I think that the benefit that you have now, and one that women are often ignoring, is that for the first time in history, women are able to broker their own deals when it comes to marriage. Meaning that it is no longer their father that is negotiating their marriage. Now they are the ones who can choose if they will get married, and to whom they will get married, and on what terms they will get married. Which is why I'm a fan of prenups and actually encourage women to consider them, because it actually gets you thinking about this marriage in more business terms. Because the truth is, if you want a marriage to benefit you, you need to actually start thinking about the practical realities of what you want in your life and out of a marriage, and don't say just love, because if that's all you want out of a marriage, and I can tell you, your marriage is probably doomed to failure. And I'm sorry to have to be the one to say it, but It's true. When people go into it thinking all you need is love, and they forget about all the practical realities of building a life together, that's when they end up coming to me. Because one way or the other, you know, love doesn't always last. It changes. It's inherently unstable. It is not a good foundation to build upon. And I'm not saying that love shouldn't be there, but that is not the reason to marry someone. Absolutely need to marry the good on paper guy, because let me tell you, it's the stuff on paper that is going to sustain your relationship, not the love. The love will come and go. It will change. It will grow. It will develop. There'll be times where, you know, you're struggling, times where life is tough, and then times where you're just like blissfully happy. But what holds it all together is all of that stuff that's good on paper. And this is especially true if you want to have children, because having children puts you in a really vulnerable situation. You're putting your health, your body, your mind, your life on the line to bring this child into the world. And you need a partner who's got your back. You need a man who can provide, who can get stuff done, that you can rely on, who is responsible, not someone who's going to be just another child and another burden to you. Because the love and the chemistry, that will disappear really quickly when you have this useless lump sitting on your couch and you have to do everything for him. And he can't seem to figure out like how to press a button on the washing machine. That's not cute. Okay, but a lot of those guys, they can be super charming in the beginning, and that is almost a survival mechanism for them, because they know that that's the only card that they have to play to find a woman to look after them. So my best advice is to really stop leaning into your feelings when it comes to choosing a spouse, and actually thinking about the practical realities of what it is that you want in your life and whether or not this man can actually give you that life.
Now, men need marriage more than women need it. The things that men get from marriage, the sort of stereotypical things, are still really important for the man, but the things stereotypically a woman was getting from the marriage, she now doesn't actually need that stuff from a man. She can kind of get that herself, because society's shifted where it's not a case that the woman stays at home and raises the kids all the time. Now the woman's got her own money, her own independence, she can leave you.
I think that's true. For a man, a wife may be the only confidant. That's not true for women. Women have much better social support. But men and women both equally need high-quality relationships, which is a different conclusion, really. Both men and women really need committed, loving relationship. But, you know, guys can survive in a relationship that is not as good, and they can get a lot out of it.
Well,
whereas women can't.
They need somebody to, oftentimes, though this is changing, but they need somebody to cook. They need somebody to clean. They need somebody to do their laundry.
Listen to them.
To listen to them, to help them sometimes solve work problems, or at least listen to their stresses.
So I just watched a video of a woman talking about her ex-husband and how replaceable women are for men. And I can attest to this. It's crazy. So in my youth, I was raised by the patriarchy, as most of us women are. It wasn't until much later that I understood my worth, but we'll get to that later. So being married, I did everything. I cooked, I cleaned, I set up events, I had the friends, I made the dates. I did everything for this man. Everything. And anytime I asked for help, there was always backlash and an argument. It was a manipulative tactic, and eventually it got into fear tactics, if you know what I'm saying. There was a time where I had this really great job, and then he convinced me to quit it, and then got mad when I was not bringing any money when he asked me to quit my job. There was a point where our money was combined, but we would get allowances every month or week so that I could spend my own money. It was so nuts. Meanwhile, this man's setting up his studio in our house, spending money galore. Our expenses are crazy. Crazy, and that's not for me, because I have anxiety now about spending money because of his manipulative tactic. So to say that the man benefits more than the woman, 100%. I was losing my hair out of anxiety. I was walking on eggshells around this man. When I finally decided to end the marriage, and this is after like months of fighting through therapy, like we really tried. He grew up in a religious household, so divorce was not really in the picture, but it was in the picture for us. So I finally am like, all right, I'm done with this. This is so toxic. I cannot do this mentally. I'm very ill. Finally, I put myself into therapy because I felt like I was a crazy person, but it was really like a narcissist manipulation tactic, right? So get out of the marriage. A month out of that, he already has a new girlfriend. Trades in one for the other, right? This person has a rough background, so she's can put up with his BS. I'm learning my own worth at this point, and which is why I'm finally like, I'm done. I can't be in this. I cannot be in this for years and years and years with a person who doesn't even value me as a person. There's no way. That's clearly, you need somebody else for that. But it's not going to be me, and I feel so bad for this woman. Because that just shows her walk in life, right? A month into us separating, the divorce papers haven't even been drafted yet. 2 months later, he already has this woman pregnant. Like, if it's not, they're not married yet. Even to this day, this was 4 or 5 years later. They're not married. Nope, but I bet you he's dangling that carrot. Because he wants to keep her, right? And that's an interesting space to be in. Now you have kids, and you're dangling the carrot of marriage to get her to stay. Manipulation, right? And I asked him before we signed the divorce papers, and I never talked to him again, why did you ask me to get married? Like, why did you want to marry me? Such a weird thing for someone like just to want and to push. Why? And he was like, oh, I don't know. He knew. He knew that he wanted me to take care of him. He had severe mother trauma. He wanted someone to take care of him, do everything for him, and he wanted someone he thought he could manipulate. And early on in our dating, yeah, I was a little bit more malleable. But as we got older and I had to fight for my literal well-being and health, that was not the same woman, and he needed to trade me out.
Marriage, for the most part, benefits men more than it does benefit women. In fact, most women would never see any benefit in marriage. When I mean most, I mean a large number of women. Marriage is never going to benefit them, no matter how little. But because men have successfully sold the idea to women that marriage benefits women and marriage is for women, so they have women acting crazy. And they also made women to believe that if you do not desire marriage and successfully get married at a certain age, then something must be wrong with you, of which that is a lie. And since you have bought the idea, they use that marriage as a tool. And by using marriage as a tool, don't forget, men can use anything as a tool. They even use their families as a tool. So I'll talk about that family as a tool in the next video. So if you're somebody who has issues with your in-laws, watch the next video. They use the marriage as a tool of manipulation and also a tool of oppression. When you start dating them, they dangle the whole marriage in front of you, since they've successfully gotten you to desire the marriage and act as though that is what gives you life's fulfillment. They will date you, then they dangle the marriage in front of you. And as you are dangling it, they need you to fix yourself in a certain character that they desire. So because they want you to be able to fix yourself, that's manipulative. So even if you cannot do certain things, they expect you to try to do those things and agree to doing those things by dangling that marriage in front of you. So it's like, if you do this well enough, if you prove to me well enough, I will marry you. Then you keep on changing character and you do not have the time to discover yourself. So at the end of the day, you keep on transforming into this performative person that is their ideal wife. So when you enter that role, which of course is a performative role and is going to be a very uncomfortable role for you, then they can decide to either marry you, or, and for some, they dump you. And if you even let them long enough and you're proving to them you're doing all these domestic chores, all these things that is considered as wife duties, cooking, cleaning for them, if they understand that you're comfortable in that role, they may not even end up marrying you. So they will try to keep you for the longest while still leaving their options open for them to be scouting for another lady that they may consider to be better than you. So let's say you have money, you're giving them your resources, you're giving them your money, your time, your energy, your body, your servitude, you're giving them all these things. They will also leave their options open. That is why they tell you that cheating is in their nature, because they need you to be doing those things while they are scouting for another person who would also bring something better than what you're bringing. So if they eventually do find that person that offer another woman who is willing to offer them something more than what you're offering, they will not have a problem dumping you to go after the person.
Society tries to tell us that marriage is something that women should want and men typically try to avoid. However, new research has come out that indicates where married men benefit significantly compared to their single counterparts, married women suffer deeply, from a decreased lifespan to increased levels of stress, anxiety, and depression. But the real kicker is the fact that married men are likely to do better in their career ladders, whereas married women are less likely to even get a raise. So the next time a man tells you marriage is for the sake of women, know that they're either selfishly lying to you or require a bit of educating.
Let's get into it. Let's talk about why marriage benefits men more than women. I would also encourage you to go look this up, because I'm just going to focus on one factor, but there's actually a lot. On average, married men make 10 to 24% more than unmarried men. Why do we suppose that is? Because they have their wife at home doing all of the unpaid emotional and domestic labor, which allows them to focus, work harder, and work longer. Now, let's assume that the wife also has a career, because that's how most households are nowadays. So you have both the husband and the wife working outside the home, but only one of them is doing the vast majority of the domestic labor. And it ain't the husband. So the wife is working all day and then coming home and working more. What does this lead to? Depression, anxiety, stress? That's a significant amount of pressure. And what's the result of all of this? The result is the ultimate benefit. Married men live longer than single men, but married women do not live longer than single women. Being a married woman cuts your life expectancy short.
Now, so many people are of the opinion that marriages in modern times favor men, or men benefit more from marriages in modern times. Now, in previous times, marriages benefited women more because of the fact that there were a lot of restrictions that women had. So women did not have access to a lot of things, and they usually have access to those things when they got married. So through the men who had full access to those things, they got access to some things. So now that women have access to quite a lot of things, even though it's not equivalent to what men have access to, but women still have access to some things, they feel like marriages nowadays favor men and not women. Now, my own opinion is that if you are married to the right person, it favors both partners. But I cannot ignore the fact that quite a lot of times marriages favor men, especially in societies where women are being told that marriage is the be-all and end-all for women, especially in societies where women are being told that they have to sacrifice a lot to keep their marriage, especially in societies where women are made to feel like a failure if their marriages fail, and so they have to stay in the marriages even if they are being beaten black and blue, even if they're being abused in all kinds of ways, they still stay there because they know that if they leave the marriage, if the marriage fails to the notice of people, even though they are suffering in the marriage, that they would be blamed and they would be looked at in a particular kind of way. So in those kind of society, the men tend to benefit more because they can do anything, they can do the bare minimum, and they will get away with it because the women have no choice but to struggle and sacrifice to keep their marriage. So they end up doing almost everything just to have the Mrs. tag, just to say I'm married, just to say I have a man. And there's so much data, there's so much papers that have been written on how marriage, especially in modern times, favor men, and how men thrive more when they're in marriage compared to the women in marriages. Like, there is literally a term called single married mothers for women who are married, but they are practically doing everything concerning their kids, raising their kids, and there's no input from their husbands, but they are married. And that is an example of how women are being at a disadvantage and the men are being at an advantage, because they get to do what they like, but as a woman with children, you cannot do what you like. And there are some people that are forced to be in that situation because they are at a disadvantage for a lot of things, maybe financially and otherwise. So while I would not say that marriage doesn't benefit women, now, however, if you are a woman who wants to have kids, I feel like marriage will benefit you because it protects you and the kids from some certain things, and it will allow you and your kids to have access to some things that you might not have had if you are just a baby mama or you are not married. So while marriage might benefit men more in some certain areas, in some certain situations, in some certain areas, it is beneficial for women to get married, especially if you're thinking of having children. So that is my thoughts about this topic. I don't know what you guys think about it. Do you think that men benefit more from marriages, or do you think it's women that benefit more from marriages? I would love to hear your own thoughts about this topic. So please leave your comments in the comment section so that we can get this discussion popping. Now, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you are not yet subscribed and you like videos such as this, please consider subscribing by clicking on the red button that says subscribe, and don't forget to click on the bell notification icon by the side so that you're notified anytime I upload videos. Now, with all that said, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.